started in Kansas City as they traded left guard Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears. Joe Thuney is versatile, starting off last season as the Chiefs' left guard before moving to left tackle in Week 15, and he's really good. He has the best pass block win rate of any player in the last 2 seasons. Adam, what more can you tell us about this trade and what it means for the Bears specifically?
Well, I think we can look at it from both sides, Laura. From the Bears' standpoint, they clearly have prioritized protecting Caleb Williams. Yesterday, they agreed to send a draft pick to the Los Angeles Rams for Jonah Jackson, who played for Ben Johnson in Detroit and now is reunited with him in Chicago. And today, they agreed to send a 2026 fourth-round draft pick to Kansas City for Joe Thuney. Now, Joe Thuney is a guy who has been versatile, he's been durable, he's been productive, but he also probably is going to need a contract extension at some point in time. He's got a year left on his deal, he's going to be 33 years old, and the Chiefs already have the highest paid guard in Trey Smith and the highest paid center in Creed Humphrey in the National Football League. You can't pay center guard and another guard at the highest levels and expect to be able to field the roster that they need to. And that's why the Chiefs, with a year left on Joe Thuney's deal, look to deal him now. As much as they liked and valued him, you can't pay everybody. They would have liked to have kept him in a perfect world. Chicago is transforming its line, and the Bears can't put enough resources in front of Patrick Mahomes, or in front of Caleb Williams, to protect him. And therefore, for them to give up the draft picks that it takes to solidify that offensive line, it's their biggest offseason priority. And in 24 hours, they've been able to accomplish that.
Yeah, and nothing they've traded prevents them from using additional resources if, say, the Bears wanted to use a first and or second round pick to continue to strengthen the line. But it gives them a little flexibility as they head into the rest of their offseason because they know that they've shored up a couple of key positions. You look at their new head coach, Ben Johnson, coming from Detroit. The success of Detroit has all been based for the last couple of years on how dominant that offensive line was. The run game, the passing game, everything working off of that. So Ben Johnson knows firsthand how important anything else he wants to do in Chicago, how important the offensive line is going to be to the success, not just of Caleb Williams, but of the offense in general. So, yeah, Chicago willing to commit resources at a level that, at a time when Kansas City's kind of retooling, looking to get younger. It just makes sense both ways. Chicago more than willing to pay Joe Thuney $16 million this year if it helps.
Yeah, Gruz, let's dive into the Kansas City side of this deal. It's worth noting that the Chiefs need to protect Patrick Mahomes better, right? Last year, Mahomes was sacked a career-high 47 times, including 6 times in the Super Bowl, which is the most in any game in his career. He was running for his life out there. He was also contacted and pressured at his highest rate ever. This despite averaging just 2.8 seconds before the pass. That's the shortest in any season in his career. He was trying to get the ball out quickly. Didn't matter all the time. Adam, any sense why Kansas City would make this move right now?
Yeah, because you can't pay everybody, Laura. It's exactly the whole situation. Remember last week, they franchised Trey Smith at guard, and we talked on NFL Live from the Combine at that time about the fact that they tagged him, but were not looking to deal him. They're looking to sign Trey Smith to a long-term contract extension. They've already signed their center, Creed Humphrey, to a long-term contract extension. Creed Humphrey is the highest paid center. Trey Smith is going to be, and already is with the franchise tag, the highest paid guard. You can't then go give Joe Thuney the type of deal that he's going to get from another team when he's got a year left on his contract. And so the Chicago Bears were more than happy to take on his remaining year on his contract. I'm sure at some point they're going to sit down and address his contractual demands, his concerns, whatever it may be. But the Chiefs were not in a position to be able to pay Joe Thuney. So they made the decision to move on as much as they would have liked to have kept him.
And I think the important thing to understand is the Chiefs probably aren't done making offensive line moves. It's not just, let's get rid of Joe Thuney and then replace him internally. They need an answer at left tackle, and they may go out and take a big swing in free agency there and need the Thuney money to do that. I believe they want to extend Trey Smith's contract, which would knock down his 2025 cap number from the $23 million where it currently sits on the franchise tag. they have a couple of young guys they've drafted with relatively high picks in recent years, and it's Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamataia, who had a hard time this year at left tackle, but the Chiefs believe that they'll get better. They're young players. They can coach them up and improve them. Maybe eventually one of them becomes a left tackle. Maybe one of them can replace Joe Thuney at guard. So I don't think we've heard the last of the Chiefs by any stretch. They were embarrassed in the Super Bowl. I think they're determined to have the kind of offseason that addresses those concerns on multiple levels. So I think, it's tough to say goodbye to Joe Thuney, and if you're a Chiefs fan today, you're wondering what's going on, but I think it's the first step in a larger plan.
One thing, too, with that 31st pick, there will be some O-line talent there. Donovan Jackson is one to watch out for. He's out of Ohio State. He actually played left guard for a lot of the season, but he switched over to left tackle later in the season and played really well. So maybe they try to add and fortify a little bit more in the draft. Last season, Jonah Jackson played just 4 games, but he led all guards in pass block win rate in his limited time. Joe Thuney ranked second on that list, as you see there. So the Bears acquired the top 2 guards in terms of pass block win rate in the last 2 days. Pretty legit. But what do you make of this move for the Bears, adding this protection for Caleb Williams?
Well, I love what the Bears are doing. And Ben Johnson coming from Detroit, where they have one of the best offensive lines in football, he's going to make sure that his young quarterback is protected. That way he can go to Caleb Williams and say, hey, listen, we're not going to take all those sacks. You don't have to be in a hurry. We're going to fix your fundamentals, but we're going to make sure that when you break the huddle, you are protected. I love what they're doing right now. They got to get Darnell Wright to continue elevating his game. And if that's the case, then you can start to see the makings of a really good offensive line. And more importantly, I think Joe Thuney is going to bring some veteran leadership, because it sounds like that offensive line room needed an adult in the room. Well, how about no better than bring Joe Thuney, who's a 4-time champion, Super Bowl champion, in that room? I think everyone will listen and pay attention to him, Lou.
Yeah, that's well said. His presence, certainly, we can't overstate that. Let's go to the Chiefs side of all this. Lewis, you concerned about that O-line trying to block for Patrick Mahomes next season? Obviously, there's still a lot of time they can add people.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned, Laura. I really would like to know what Brett Veach's plan is here, and I need to get on the phone with him. We need to have a conversation just so we can talk about it, because yeah, exactly. I'm going to. If I wasn't late to this show today on the train, I would have called him before the show.
You said it.
But you know what? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like at left guard, now is Mike Caliendo, who was a former college free agent back in 22, is that really the option at left guard? We saw how he struggled in the Super Bowl. Left tackle, what's the answer there? Now, we already knew that was going to be a problem, because that's where Joe Thuney was playing last year, and all of us thought, before he had to move out to tackle, and all of us thought, they'll slide him back in at left guard. Creed Humphrey will play center. Trey Smith will play right guard. Now, they're solid. Now, they got to make sure that they take care of left tackle. To me, now, you got 2 positions you got to take care of, because you got to upgrade left guard, and left tackle is just a vacant hole. It's a barren wasteland out there. So is Brett planning on making a big move in free agency? Or is he going to draft one? This will be something to watch, because I don't know what their plan is.
Here's the thing that I would ask Brett Veach is that if you look at Patrick Mahomes, he's lost 2 Super Bowls, and both times they happened the same way. They couldn't block for the young man up front. And so at all costs, I would make sure that I have some certainties at offensive line. We can talk about Kingsley Suamataia, put him at left guard. Maybe he can play well, maybe he can't. I want certainties, because if Patrick Mahomes is protected, he's the best quarterback in football. And right now, the Chiefs only have 2. That's Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. And that's something to be said. Brett Veach, I'm with you, Lou. He's got some explaining to do to tell me how he's going to make sure that Patrick doesn't fall in that same situation that he was in those 2 Super Bowls.